Some leaders don't just manage the work, they absorb the emotional impact of the whole team. A staff member is overwhelmed, so you steady them. A client situation escalates, so you hold the room. A parent, a stakeholder, or a senior manager is unhappy, so you take the heat. The team feels anxious, so you become the calm for everyone. And by the end of the day, you wonder why you're exhausted. Mate, you've been acting like the emotional shock absorber for the entire building. Of course you're tired. This is one of the hidden costs of leadership. The visible work is easy to point at: meetings, rosters, decisions, emails, plans, reports, conversations. But the invisible work is heavier. Regulating the room, reading people's moods, smoothing tension, anticipating conflict, holding the worry that nobody else knows what to do with, staying composed while everyone else gets to be messy. That stuff doesn't show up on your calendar, but it takes energy, a lot of it. And if there's no rhythm for where that emotion goes, it lands in your body. And you might know this feeling. You finish a hard conversation and go straight into another meeting like nothing happened. You deal with an upset team member, then answer a routine email 5 minutes later. You handle a crisis, and someone asks you about a tiny admin thing and you nearly lose your mind. Not because the admin thing is hard, but because your system is full. You've been hit with too much without a proper reset. And that's the part that people miss. Leaders don't just need time between tasks. They need recovery between emotional hits. If you keep stacking pressure without any reset, eventually the smallest things feel like the final straw. And then you feel guilty because your reaction seems bigger than the moment. But it wasn't just that moment. It was the whole day sitting behind it. So the danger isn't that you care too much. Caring is not the problem. The problem is when caring becomes carrying. And there's a big difference. Caring says, I'm here, I'll lead this well. Carrying says, give me all of it, I'll hold it for everyone. And a lot of good leaders slide into carrying without noticing. You become the person that everyone comes to when they're unsure. Then when they're anxious, and then when they're angry, and then when they don't know what to do. At first it feels useful, you're needed, you're trusted, you're the safe pair of hands, but slowly the team stops building their own capacity, and you become the place where every emotional load gets dumped. That's not leadership, that's a slow leak. And this gets even more intense in frontline or high pressure environments because some situations genuinely are serious. There may be risk, there may be trauma, there may be behaviors that are unsafe or unpredictable. There may be people on your team who are carrying a lot before they even walk through the door. So you can't just say, everyone toughen up. That's not leadership, that's nonsense. But you also can't let every emotional wave become your personal responsibility. Because then the whole system depends on your nervous system staying intact. And that is a terrifyingly fragile plan. One exhausted leader should not be the safety plan. The rhythm has to hold more than the person. Stable leadership doesn't mean that you never feel the pressure. It means the pressure has somewhere to go. You have rhythms for debriefing, rhythms for escalation, rhythms for making decisions, rhythms for checking in before people hit breaking point, rhythms for your own reset after hard moments. And that's how you stop becoming the shock absorber. You still lead, you still care, you still support people, but you stop making your body the container for everything the team hasn't learned how to process. That's the shift. So here's a simple check. After the next emotionally heavy moment, don't just move on. Take 2 minutes and ask yourself, what just happened? What am I still carrying? And who actually owns the next step? What needs to be documented, escalated, or put into a proper rhythm? What do I need before I go into the next conversation? 2 minutes. That's it. Not a whole retreat, not a lavender candle and a weekend away in the mountains, although honestly that's not the worst idea. Just enough space to stop one emotional hit bleeding into the next one. And with your team, start building a simple debrief rhythm. After hard moments, ask what happened? What do we do well? What needs follow-up? What do we need to change in the rhythm so this doesn't keep landing on one person? And that last question really matters, because if every hard moment ends with the leader handled it, then nothing changes. You can care deeply without carrying everything, and that's the line. And if you don't build rhythms around emotional load, the team will keep using the most stable person in the system, and usually that's you, until you're not stable anymore. Inside the Leadership Lab, we help team leaders stabilize the week so that they're not absorbing every wobble, crisis, and emotional hit alone. We start with simple rhythms, daily anchors, weekly resets, clear debriefs, better escalation, a calmer way to lead when things get heavy. If you want the details, the link is in the pinned comment. And if this one landed, don't brush it off. Being tired doesn't mean you're weak. It might mean that you've been carrying things that should have had a rhythm around them.